Welcome. And I'd like to introduce you to our Good Friday worship team. Reverend Deborah Phillips, myself, Reverend James Trapp, Louis Shiflett with our music, Elaine Laroa, and Cameron Lawson. And we come together this afternoon to pray, as well as to remember the way show and model of our possibilities. Those possibilities lie in Jesus the Christ and are also within us. In this day, we commemorate the immediate prelude to the story of victory, a victory of the Christ Spirit's triumph over the most horrific conditions. We come together to experience a retelling of the supreme test of Jesus' life. This ancient, sacred story illustrates that we, having faith in God, can rise above all earthly limitations to attain the fullness of spiritual life. We light this candle to symbolize the everlasting light that shines within all of us, the Christ light that clears away all darkness. And to prepare us for this experience today, let's begin with prayer, which is the language of spirit. and our way to commune with this all-knowing, everywhere present presence. So we turn within, recognizing that we're living and moving and having our beingness in a power and a presence that is beyond words, but is so very real. It reflects life, and God is life. And no matter how many changes it takes in the outer form, behind whatever we see, there is the life presence always there. And while we may go through the crucifixions of our human experiences, life never dies. Life is always with us. It is that part of us that has never gone away. It's where we are, and it's always present, even before we took this incarnation and even after we shuffle off the mortal coil. So today we celebrate that life presence that's within each and every one of us. It is the Christ in you and me, which is the hope of glory. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. Well, as you're aware, at Christmas we celebrated the birth of Jesus of Nazareth. And of course, we discovered the metaphysical meaning of this birth, his rising in consciousness. We looked at the lost years where he traveled and studied, and then he began his return to begin his ministry. As we come into the story today on Good Friday, Jesus is under a death sentence and hangs on a cross between two thieves. And we may wonder, how did it come to this? So before we enter the metaphysical implications of Jesus' last hours on earth, let us consider what transpired during those 3 years. Certainly many good things came about during those years. There were miracles and healings. There's the turning the water into wine and many wonderful teachings like the Sermon on the Mount. These are very high consciousness moments that we prefer to focus on. But there are other moments. Jesus openly defied Jewish authority. He openly challenged the Pharisees when he declared that what comes out of the mouth is more important than what goes into the mouth. A direct attack on the ancient dietary laws. He was admonished for healing people on the Sabbath. But he didn't stop. There are 7 instances of Jesus healing on the Sabbath. He charged through the temple courtyard and overturned the money changers' tables. And then, to top it off, he rode in Jerusalem just as a King Solomon would have, with people waving palms and proclaiming him the King of the Jews. The truth is that Jesus was always needling authority. His message was always one of compassion and one of love. It was a message certainly would have made his life a whole lot easier if he simply played by the rules. But he chose again and again to follow his innate spiritual guidance. He chose to continue making drastic comments and observations, take actions that defied religious law, to push for higher and higher consciousness among his followers. But for most of these 3 years, Jesus' life was not in danger. And in that time, one might very well say, sure, he can get away with all this because there was or no consequences that he had to suffer. And the question might be, what would Jesus really do when it came down to life and death? Would his teachings hold? Would he fulfill the purpose for which he was born? The tension between Jesus and the Pharisees had been rising for some time, and he intentionally agitated them by writing in Jerusalem as had King Solomon, letting people proclaim him the King of the Jews. He knew this would push things way beyond their comfort zone, and there would be pushback. But he held his ground. He stood in truth. Of course, he had many opportunities to dodge this experience and simply disappear. The disciples that followed him actually encouraged him to do so. He had one last meal with his disciples, gave them a final teachings, and then he went out to pray. It is not that he was without moments of doubt. We recall that poignant moment in the garden that night before his arrest. He prayed for this cup to pass by him. But he stayed. He was arrested. And he could have recanted to Pilate or Herod, but he refused to engage them. He had another opportunity on the cross, but again, he let it pass. As we find him on the cross today, he is in pain, hungry, dehydrated, dirty, and still teaching. When we examine the last 7 statements that Jesus made on the cross, we find that they embody his entire message.
God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. So be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. So be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Oh, be still and know that I am God. Therefore we will not fear, even though the earth be removed, and all the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea. Be still and know that I am God. Oh, be still and know that I am God. And be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God.
Physically, we do not view the crucifixion of Jesus as a tragedy, but as a step towards great victory. And Jesus assured us that the same victory illustrated in his story can be attained by us. During his crucifixion experience, Jesus gave us 7 statements. These statements are scattered among the 4 Gospels. Each of the 7 statements made by Jesus may be considered as a continuation of his teachings, which are especially appropriate for us today. Jesus used a unique kind of highly condensed metaphysical teaching, almost a kind of shorthand. But for those with eyes to see and ears to hear, there is significant spiritual meaning. The crucifixion itself symbolizes a process of crossing out or eliminating that which is no longer needful for our continued unfoldment. What has fulfilled its purpose in us must either be lifted to a higher level of expression or released completely. Jesus' crucifixion illustrates both of these meanings. The 7 statements by Jesus from the cross verbalize 7 realizations of truth, which are necessary for our continued spiritual growth and unfoldment.
Forgive them, for they know not what they do. You know, inner forgiveness is the mightiest of spiritual acts. Without it, nothing in the nature of real spiritual progress can be achieved. Jesus made this the first of his 7 statements because of its primary importance. It is significant that he does not claim to be doing the forgiving. He acknowledges God as the only forgiving power that there is. Human beings would be wise to do the same. We should try to realize that it is really not my forgiveness or your forgiveness, but it is the forgiving love of God that is the true forgiveness. In fact, we can say the presence, the power, and the love of God is never in a state of unforgiveness, because nothing we can do can stop God from loving us, supporting us, and uplifting us. At best, we can frustrate this presence, but we can't stop it. It makes it much easier to forgive when we realize that it's not something personal, which I must cook up for myself. All I do is consent. I consent and let the loving power of God simply be directed through me in behalf of others who need such forgiveness. For they know not what they do. If the people knew, really knew, what they were doing when they were doing something wrong, they would simply not go through with it. Understand that behind all offenses, there is a lack of understanding. Even a person who thinks he or she knows what they're doing when they harm another does not in reality. Thus on Friday morning, when at the 3rd hour, 3 crosses were raised in Golgotha, and Jesus was placed in the middle cross with a thief on either side of him, he was able to look down at his tormentors and say, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do."
Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. I hear you pray for
As we hear these first words of Jesus from the cross, we say, loving God, we bless those who persecute us. In doing so, the Christ Spirit cleanses us of the injustices we have committed and those that have been committed toward us. To those we have offended, we ask for forgiveness. To those we have hurt or have hurt us, we offer forgiveness. I freely forgive, and I am forgiven through the Christ that dwells within me. I invite you to quietly affirm this affirmation to yourself as you now feel the cleansing action of Christ's forgiveness in you. I freely forgive and am forgiven through the Christ that dwells within me.
Today, you will be with me in paradise. What is paradise? Where is it? Jesus knew, and he told us about it many times. Paradise is a name given to a here and now consciousness of oneness with God. Where is oneness with God? It is here. When is oneness with God? It is now. Jesus spoke these words to one of the thieves being crucified with him. Charles Fillmore wrote that these two thieves symbolize past and future. Memories of the past rob. Anxiety about the future also robs us. But spiritual awareness, or Jesus, never robs us. Rather, it gives us strength and protection. What does spiritual awareness in us, again, Jesus, say about our past or future? Does it tell us to fear it? Does it urge us to protect ourselves from it? No. Spiritual awareness says to us, today, you will be with me in paradise. In other words, spiritual awareness says we can bring our concerns into the here and now consciousness of oneness with God. We need not project into the past or future, but rather bring all thoughts into paradise. Paradise is our oneness with God, and it is here. It is now. It is forever. As the day progressed, one of the thieves railed at Jesus, saying, "Are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us." But the other thief rebuked him, saying, "Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? And we are condemned justly, for we are receiving the due reward for our deeds. But this man has done nothing wrong." And he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus spoke, saying, "Truly, I say unto you, today you will be with me in paradise."
You turn your head to address a dying thief. Today you'll be in paradise with me. These are the words where every hopeless soul must start. Create in me a trusting heart. You turn your head to address a dying thief. Today you'll be in paradise with me. These are the words where every hopeless soul must start. Create in me a trusting heart.
As we return now to that quiet place within, We carry with us the knowledge that whenever we turn to the Christ of our being and ask for help, it is always freely given. In faith, I turn to the Christ within and know that this day and every day I am one with my good, one with my God. And bring this into your heart and reflect silently on this affirmation. In faith, I turn to the Christ within and know that this day and every day I am one with my good, one with my God.
Woman, behold your son. Behold your mother. These words were spoken by Mary, or to Mary, and according to tradition, to the disciple John. Mary and John were not mother and son, but Jesus was speaking from a level of the highest understanding concerning the truth of human relationships. One of the greatest realizations that can come to a person is the realization of his true relationship to every other human being in the human family. Whatever biological ties may exist, the metaphysical ties are stronger and more important. In spirit, we are each other's mother, brother, and sister. To realize this and to accept this will guarantee great steps forward in spiritual unfoldment. Understand, Jesus saw his mother and said to her, "Woman, behold your son." And looking at John, he said, "Son, behold your mother." And from that hour, John took Mary as his own.
Then unto Mary, woman, behold your son. Behold your mother, your dying words to John. These words begin a family of which I'm a part. Create in me a holy heart. Then unto Mary, woman, behold your son. Behold your mother, your dying words to John. These words begin a family of which I am a part. Create in me a holy heart.
We are reminded by this third statement that it is our responsibility to provide for those who are unable to care for themselves. We fulfill our human responsibilities willingly and with great love. As I unfold spiritually, I fulfill my every obligation responsibly, wisely, and lovingly. I invite you to take that affirmation within. Repeat it quietly to yourself as we return to that reflective posture within us all. As I unfold spiritually, I fulfill every obligation responsibly, wisely, and lovingly.
my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" Jesus once again teaches by making himself an example. Notice that this is a question, not a statement. Jesus was probably not asking the question for his own sake because he knew the truth, he knew the answer. He spoke the question to show us what is often in our own hearts, and we seek to follow him. The question sparks a wondering in us. Why am I feeling separated from God? Even when we know better, this feeling may creep over us. This teaching shows us that asking why is okay. It is normal. It is healthy. And when the 6th hour had come, there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. Jesus cried out in a loud voice, my God, why have you forsaken me?"
Your darkest hour, you cried out from a tree. My God, why have you forsaken me? These words of anguish pierce me through just like a dart, create in me a thankful heart. Your darkest hour, you cried out from a tree. My God, why have you forsaken me? These words of anguish pierce me through just like a dart, create in me a thankful heart.
When we experience spiritual crucifixion, we may feel as Jesus did when he uttered those words, that even God seems to have forsaken us. In these periods of darkness, Christ's Spirit within gives us the strength to persevere. God is here even in our darkest, most painful and confusing moments. God's love comforts me. God's power strengthens me in my hour of need. And let's bring this affirmation into that inner warm quiet and repeat it to yourself again. God's love comforts me. God's power strengthens me in my hour of need.
I thirst. This is an affirmation of a need. It is an asking. The asking is immediately followed by the meeting of that need. Jesus was given a sponge soaked with a mixture of vinegar and gall or myrrh, a smoothing drink. Jesus had previously taught, ask and you shall receive. Here he gives us an example of practicing what he preached. There are times when a person finds him or herself in a situation where things look hopeless. During such times, they will feel an overpowering thirsting after righteousness. What should one do then? Jesus said, ask, and you shall receive. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. With God, no situation is hopeless, for God is mightier than circumstances. After this, Jesus, knowing that all was complete, said, I thirst.
You said I thirst, yet it was not for wine. You thirst for love from desert souls like mine. And with these words, a flowing river, you impart, create in me a loving heart. You said I thirst, yet it was not for wine. You thirst for love like desert souls like mine. And with these words, a flowing river, you impart, create in me a loving heart.
There comes a time in spiritual unfoldment when we finally know that the body is not limited to the physical. It is the temple of the living God, and its full needs can only be met by drinking of the living water, the life of Christ. As we return now to the silence, let us quietly affirm, I drink of the living water of spirit, and every need of my mind and body is fulfilled. I invite you to quietly repeat this affirmation as you drink in the silence. I drink of the living water of spirit, and every need of my mind and body is fulfilled.
It is finished. Everything that happens in a person's life is part of the cycle of learning, growing, unfolding. Each event, each experience, each relationship, each victory, each defeat is a factor in the great overall pattern of evolution. One of the most difficult lessons we may have to learn is to recognize when something has fulfilled its role in our life and is now to be seen as finished business. Some people never seem to learn to recognize when something is finished. This pertains to other persons, possessions, jobs, pleasures, but it especially pertains to cycles of experience in our learning the process of life. Certain difficult or painful experiences will revisit us until we become aware that something in our consciousness is calling them in. When awareness dawns, then we can say, as Jesus did, it is finished. Hold no grudges, nurse no hurt feelings, carry no unhappy memories. It is finished. Let it go. The work is done. Greater good is now in store, and we let the past bury the past. It is finished when we come to the limit of human effort and know that what we have done is all we can do. We keep our faith, and we know that with God and all things are possible. We have done all we can humanly do, and we totally surrender our will to God. When Jesus had received drink, he uttered his sixth statement, "It is finished."
Then it is finished, your work on earth was done. For in 3 days the battle would be won. These are the words with which you ground your works of art. Create in me a perfect heart.
When we come to the limit of human effort and know that we have done all we can do, we keep our faith and know that with God all things are possible. We have done all we can humanly do, and we totally surrender our will to God. The living, loving Christ of my being works for my highest good in all matters that I release to it. I let go. I let God. Let's take this into a deeper and deeper silence and repeating the affirmation to yourself. The living, loving Christ of my being works for my highest good in all matters that I release to it. I let go. I let God.
Abba, into thy hands I commit my spirit. In the beginning, God. In every ending, God. God is our all in all. Jesus had gone through a complete cycle in which he had accomplished exactly what he had come here to do. He had brought that cycle to a climax in the symbolism of the drama of the crucifixion. The word he chooses to verbalize that climax are in the statement which is, Father, into thy hands I commit my spirit. People often wonder, what is going to happen to me next? If we will follow the example of Jesus, we can know that we can safely place ourselves, our lives, our bodies, our future in God's hands. We're not taking any risks when we do this. God is completely dependable because God cannot be changed. When Jesus gives his example of commending his whole spirit into God's hands, he is once again demonstrating his own teachings. God is the answer to everything. God is the meaning behind everything. God is the only fate in store for his children. And God is absolute good. There was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour, while the sun's light failed, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two. Then Jesus, crying with a loud voice, said, Abba, into thy hands I commit my spirit. And having said this, he breathed his last breath.
Into your hands, Father, I commend my breath. Your final prayer as you close your eyes in death. And with these words, one day I'll fly to where you are, creating me, creating me, creating me a faithful heart.
as Jesus spoke the seventh statement, he surrendered his spirit. Not my will, but yours be done. Into the care and keeping of God, I give myself and all that concerns me. I rest from my labors and let God's will for good come forth in my life. Let us return once more to that secret place of the Most High that's silenced with this thought. I release and let go of my concerns. God's will be done in me now. Repeat it silently to yourself. I release and let go of my concerns. God's will be done in me now.
Christ has nobody now but yours. No hands, no feet on earth but yours. You are the eyes through which he looks, compassion on this world. Yours are the feet with which he walks to do good. Yours are the hands with which he blesses all the world. Yours are the hands. Yours are the feet. Yours are the eyes. You are his body. And Christ has nobody now but yours. He's got no hands, no feet on earth but yours. You are the eyes through which he looks, compassion in this world. You are the feet with which he walks to do good. Yours are the hands which with he blesses all the world. Yours are the hands. Yours are the feet. Yours are the eyes. And you are his body. Christ has nobody on earth but yours.
Go now in peace to love, serve, and remember.
You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. We welcome you. We welcome you. You are here, healing every life. We welcome you. We welcome you. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. God, I know you have my back right now. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 By faith I believe that. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working.
You never stop.
Promise keeper,
You were always there.
darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are here, waymaker. We welcome you.